Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Guru Bhakta Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Guru Bhakta Sudhyani Jana Shubhatana Chakshurumritam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutala Swalim Bhutapadanavam Swapadantutam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavaisha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganam Visantam Sajeevam Sadhvaitam Sadhavantam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahaganam Shri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Kanta Charan Avandu Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vanchi Kantakarubhas Kripa Sindhya Eva Chapati Pranam Pranamati Vishnu Krishna Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Sadhguru Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Shubhadaya Krishna Vastavitari Pavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavadavad Shubhadaya. Krishna Krishna Bhutani Shmita Bhutani Krishna. Namaste Saraswati Devi Garavani. Mukham Karuti Vachana Shri Guru Dinata. So we are reading from Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter Adi Lila, chapter 16, text 90. So we're reading the story of Brahmana, right? Yeshwakashmi. He is defeated by Nibbana. So let's read what happened. ये व्याख्या करेला से मनुष्यरा नहीं शक्ति निमानी मुखे रहे बले अपाने सरस्वती. The wonderful explanation the boy has given could not have been possible for a human being. Therefore, Mother Saraswati must have spoken personally through his mouth. So, ye vyakya, which explanation Karila he has made, say manushera, of any human being, nahi shakti. A human being doesn't have the capacity, the power to give such a wonderful explanation. Therefore, nimani mukhe. Therefore, yeah, that's what I was looking for in the translation. It doesn't say it. Nimani mukhe, meaning in the mouth of this boy, nimai, right? Nimani mukhe. Rahi bale, rahi remaining. Bale speaks upon a person, Saraswati. Therefore, Mother Saraswati must have spoken personally through his mouth. Etad bhavikahe shuna nimani pandit tava vyakhya shuniyami dhailan vishmitta. Thinking that's the Pandit said, my dear Nimai Pandit, now he's calling him Nimai Pandit, right? Before Bala, Bala, Nimai, Bala. You're just teaching, Bala about grammar. If you're in standard 10, then you teach standard 1, right? Listen, my dear Nimai Pandit, please hear me. Hearing your explanation, I'm simply struck with wonder. Alankara nahi parai nahi shastrabhyas. Kimane savartha karila prakash. I'm surprised you're not a literary student, Alankara, and you not have long experience in studying the Shastra. Nahi Shastra Abhyas. How have you been able to explain all these critical points? Ke mane e saba artha karila prakash. How did you throw light? How could you throw light on prakash manifestation? How could you throw light on the meaning of these shlokas? Text 93. Iha shuni Mahaprabhu ati bara rangi. Tahara hridaya jani kahe kari bhangi. So Mahaprabhu ati rangi. Hearing this and understanding the Pandit's heart, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied in a humorous way. So what did he say? Ati bara rangi. So he thought it is very funny. So understanding the heart, Tanhara hridaya jani kahe kari bhangi. What is it, Devahuti, is there? What's the meaning of bhangi?
In one sense, it's action, matlab, indication, action.
Action?
Certain type of action, indication and action.
Oh,
Has ke
gesture.
kaha. Right.
Okay, gesture. Okay. Okay. Tanhara hridaya jani kahe kari bhangi. Indication, meaning gesture. So he replied in a humorous way. Shastrera vichara bhala mandana hinjani. Saraswati ye balaya se balivani. My dear sir, I don't know what is good composition and what is bad. But whatever has spoken must be understood to have been spoken by Mother Saraswati. Now, my God, so the Pandit Kashi Mishra is thinking, my Saraswati spoke through the mouth of this little boy. Oh my God, why did she favor him? So he said, no, I didn't say anything. Whatever I spoke, Saraswati made me speak. You know, when devotees, they fight, right? They say, Krishna, Krishna said it. Krishna made me do it, right? Isn't it? So your Krishna and my Krishna. So here it is. Whatever I have spoken must be spoken to have been spoken by. Okay, so meaning it's not me, it's Mother Saraswati. Iha Shini Digvijaya Karila Nishchay Shishu Dware Devi More Kaila Parajay. When he heard this judgment from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Pandit thoroughly wanted why Mother Saraswati wanted to defeat him to a small boy. See what he did? So Nimai put it on Mother Saraswati. So okay, go and fight with Mother Saraswati. It's not me. So that's exactly what happened. It's not me. So why did Mother Saraswati become angry with me? Ajitanre nivedi bhakare japajyan shishudvare kaila more eta apaman. Oh my God. On here. I shall offer prayers and meditation to the goddess of learning. The champion concluded, and asked her why she has insulted me so greatly through this boy. It's not boy. Shishu means baby, right? Shishu Dware means this toddler, right? Shishu. Shishu means a baby, right? Not a boy. Balak is boy, right? Shishu means a baby.
Shishu means balak.
Hmm?
Shishu means balak.
Then baby means
वो दोनों सेम होता है. शिशु मीन्स वो दोनों कैटेगरी में आ जाता है. बेबी मतलब छोटा और थोड़ा उससे थोड़ा बड़ा ऐसे.
yeah. Shishu means a baby.
हिंदी
Infant.
में ऐसे हिंदी में ऐसे ही होता है.
Yeah, Shishu is an infant, and Balak is boy, right? In verse 94, in verse
हिंदी में ट्रांसलेशन में दिया है बालक और
1 minute. And then in verse 95, that's Keshav Kashmiri. Keshav Kashmiri, what's his name? Keshav Kashmiri, right? I'm getting mixed up between two. I said Kashi Mishra before, right? Keshav Kashmiri. Yeah, Shish, in verse 95, he says Shishudari. In verse sorry, I'm just reading Bengali here. Boy. Okay, yes. In text 89, he called Nimai Balak. Right? Paduya Balaka Kaila Mora Budhilu. So he called him a boy. Right? It's me a boy. But now he's becoming more and more humiliated. He's not even calling him Balak. He says Shishu. He's saying he's just an infant. So from Balak, he came down to a Shishu. He said, this baby, he defeated me. So let's read. So you know how small boys are, right? How they're always giggling and laughing, right? So he made a joke, right? So he said that Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, actually, should I say Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? What does it say, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Oh, Mahaprabhu, okay. He replied in a funny way. Jitandre Nivediva Kari Japadhyam. So I'm going to do my japa and dhyan, I'm going to meditate, right? Shishu Dware Kaila Mura Ekta Apaman. How this baby, right, insulted me. He did my apaman. Oh my God. Right? If you think you're so good, so perfect, and you get defeated. So humiliating. And that also, he's got his students with him. Nimai was not alone. He had his students with him. Vastutah Saraswati Ashuddha Shloka Karaila Vichara Samai Tanra Buddhi Acharya. Saraswati had in fact induced the champion to compose his verse in an impure way. Furthermore, when it was discussed, she covered his intelligence, and thus the Lord's intelligence was triumphant. So, sometimes when we make mistakes, we don't know, like we are so particular with everything, we are so careful with everything. How is it that this happened? How did this happen? So here is something that, so who's speaking here? Who's speaking this verse? Rashmi, who's speaking? You are muted.
Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami.
Yes, Krishnadas Kaviraj is speaking this verse. He's saying Saraswati had in fact induced the champion to compose his verse in an impure way. So, sometimes the Devas, they have something they want to teach us, right? So even though we are so good, you can't understand why something so impossible could happen. So Saraswati had in fact induced the champion to compose his verse in an impure way. Furthermore, when it was discussed, she covered his intelligence, and thus the Lord's intelligence was triumphant. Furthermore, when it was discussed, meaning he couldn't defend himself. He couldn't defend his composition. So he made mistakes in his composition. And when it was being discussed, I mean, does that not happen to us? We are so bewildered, we are not able to like say anything. The mind, the intelligence is gone, right? So let's read 98. तबे शिष्यगण सब हसिते लागिला तसबनिषेधि प्रभु कबीरे कहला. The Shishyagan, what did they do? Hasite lagila. They started to laugh. Oh my God. When the poetic champion was thus defeated, all the Lord's disciples sitting there began to laugh loudly. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked them not to do so. And he addressed the poet as follows. So, people become so angry if you correct them or chastise them in front of somebody else. Is it that? They say that we should, I don't know where that rule is, why that rule is. Anyway, but here, Mahaprabhu didn't follow that rule. So they say you should not correct in public. Is that so? They say don't correct in public. But here Mahaprabhu didn't follow that rule. He had his shishya with him. And they're boys, right? They're also balaka. They're boys. So they started to laugh. Let me see. The Bengali is so sweet. Ihashwini Mahaprabhu ati bararangi utstap. Tabe shishya gana saba hasite lagila. They started laughing. Then ta saba nishedhi, meaning no, don't. Prabhu Kavira Kahila. So he stopped them. Nishedh. Don't. So yes, so the others around him started to laugh at him. And Mahaprabhu said, no, don't laugh at him. And he started to speak to the poor. Tumi bara pandita Mahakavi Shiromani Yandra Mukhe Bahiraye Aiche Kavya Vani. You are the most learned scholar and the topmost of all great poets. For otherwise, how could such fine poetry come from your mouth? तुम्हारा कवित्वा येन गंगा जलधारा तुम सम कवि को था नहीं देखी आरा. Your poetic skill is like the constant flow of the waters of the Ganges. It's like Ganga Jaladhara. And he was glorifying the Ganga. I find no one in the world who can compete with you. Tuma sama kavi kotha nahi dekhi aar. I think we understand that, right? Avabhuti Jayadeva Ara Kalidas Tansabara Kavitve Ache Doshera Prakash. Even in the poetic compositions of such great poets as Bhavabhuti, Jayadev, and Kalidas, there are many examples of faults. Dosha guna vicharaye alpa parimani kavitva karane shakti tanha se vakyani. Such mistakes should be considered negligible. One should see only how such poets have displayed their poetic power. Perfect. In Shrimad Bhagavatam 1.511 it is said that Visargo Janata Viplavo Yasmin Pratishnokamagadhavyatyapi Namanyanantasya Yasho Sadhavaha. In explaining the glories of the Lord, inexperienced men may compose poetry with many faults. But because it contains glorification of the Lord, great personalities read it, hear it, and chant it. Despite its minute literary discrepancies, one must study poetry on the merit of its subject matter. According to Vaishnava philosophy, any literature that glorifies the Lord, whether properly written or not, is first class. There need be no other considerations. The poetic composition of Bhavabhuti or Shrikanta include Malati Madhava, Uttara Charita, Veera Charita, and many similar Sanskrit dramas. This great poet was born during the time of Bhojaraj as the son of Nilakantha, a Brahmana. Kalidas flourished during the time of Maharaj Vikramaditya, and he became the state poet. He composed some 30 or 40 Sanskrit dramas, including Kumara Sambhava, Abhigyan Shakuntala, and Meghadut. His drama Raghu Vamsh is especially famous. We have already described Jayadev in chapter 13 of the Adi Lila. You remember? I said how we had put up this program on Gopi Geet, and our devotees, they were singing these shlokas, the Gopi Geet shlokas, and they didn't pronounce properly here and there, So then there was some criticism, and then I complained about it to this one devotee who had, given the mudras, actually, how to play Bharatanatyam. Then she told me that famous singers, when they sing the shloka, they also make mistakes in the pronunciation. He says, but Mahaprabhu says, it's okay. Not a big deal. Even great poets, there may be mistakes, faults in their poetry. So meaning he's a Shishu, right? He's a Balak, he's a Shishu. But he could reassure, he defeated him. But then, beginning how he appreciated him, he defeated him, and then he's praising him now. He's reassuring him. I'm not even fit. Shay Shava Chapalia Kichuna Labhe Amara Shishera Samana Munina Hantomara. I'm not even fit to be your disciple. Therefore, kindly do not take seriously whatever childish impudence I have shown. Ajivasayaha Kalin Miliba Shuniba Tamara Mukhe Shastrera Vichar. Please go back home, and tomorrow we may meet again so that I may hear discourses and the Shastras from your mouth. All right, Anupama Madhi, please read.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Text 105. Ei mata nije ghare gela doi jana, kaviratre kaila saraswati aradhana. In this way, both the poet and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went back to their homes, and at night, the poet worshipped Mother Saraswati. Saraswati swapne tande upadesha kaila, sakshat Ishwara kare Prabhu ke janila. In a dream, the goddess informed him of the Lord's position, and the poetic champion could understand that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. प्रातेयाशी प्रभुपदे लैला शरण प्रभु कृपा कैला तांड्रा खंडिला बंधना. The next morning, the poet came to Lord Chaitanya and surrendered unto his lotus feet. The Lord bestowed his mercy upon him and cut off all his bondage to material attachment. Purport. The same process advocated by Lord Sri Krishna in his teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, as it is, surrender unto me in all instances, was advocated by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The champion surrendered unto the Lord, and the Lord favored him. One who is favored by the Lord is freed from material bondage, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Takta deha punarjanma neti mameti so Arjuna. Text 108. भाग्यवंता दिग्विजयी सफल जीवन विद्या बले पाइला महाप्रभुरा चरण. Translation. The poetic champion was certainly most fortunate. His life was successful by dint of his vast learning and erudite scholarship, and thus he attained the shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purport. Sri Narottam Das Thakur has sung that the best qualification for taking shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya is to be the most fallen, because the Lord came specifically to deliver the fallen souls. In this age, there are a few scholars. Almost everyone is a fallen meat eater, drunkard, woman hunter, or gambler. Such persons are never considered learned scholars, even if they pose as such. Because these so called scholars superficially see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu associates uh, with the fallen souls, they think that he is meant for a lower class of men, but that they do not need him. Thus, such scholars do not take to Krishna consciousness movement. To be puffed up with false learning, therefore, is a disqualification for accepting the Krishna consciousness movement. But here is a special example. For although the poetic champion was a greatly learned scholar, the Lord also favored him because of his humble submission.
This is very nice. This is very nice. So he's a champion, no? He's a Digvijay, and he's been thoroughly humiliated by Shishu, right? But he didn't hate that boy. He didn't feel hatred towards him and wanted to know how can I crush him down. There's the example in the life of Ramanujacharya. When Ramanujacharya, he was also just a boy. So when he was learning from a Mayavadi teacher, I get mixed up with all the names of his teachers, but one of them was in Mayavadi in the beginning. So when Ramanujacharya, he was a boy. So when he heard one explanation by his Mayavad teacher about the lotus eye of Vishnu, he compared the lotus eye of Vishnu to the rear end of a monkey, So Ramanujacharya was such a boy, so cultured, so respectful. He didn't say anything, but he was just crying. He was crying, and actually, I think he was massaging his spiritual master. So his tears fell on the spiritual master. And the guru turned to see what's going on. So then, in a defiant way, the guru said, okay, give your explanation. So Ramanujacharya gave the explanation. And then, see now, understand what's going on. See, he's a boy in the Gurukul of this Mayavad teacher. So you have a student who all the time, is defeating you on different points. So he became hateful towards him and he wanted to murder him. So, but here we find another something different. Something very different. And Ramanujacharya also had a guru, a Vaishnava guru, who gave him a mantra, Om Namo Narayana Namaha. And he told him, don't tell this to anyone. Don't give this mantra to anyone. This is a secret mantra. So what did Ramanujacharya do? Immediately he went in the marketplace and he declared, I've got some wonderful news for all of you. So what is the power of chanting the name of Narayan? You become delivered from this hellish life. So wonderful news. He went immediately to the marketplace and said, Om Namo Narayan. So everybody, so the news came to his guru. His guru called him and said, why did you give this mantra so publicly? Told you, do not give this. Then he said, don't you know you'll go to hell? So Ramanujacharya said, let me go to hell. If all of them will go, become elevated. So then that guru said, you are my guru. He said, you are my guru, and he became a disciple of Shri Ramanujacharya. See, all this we have to learn. Right? We have to learn. So, in association of devotees, we cannot be proud. So okay, everybody think, I know better than this one, that one, especially if I'm counselor, you put a bunch of counselors together, they may think I'm superior to this one, that one. Actually, if you ask me, like, I've seen my Guru Maharaj, Gihar Swami, and how he deals with his god brother. But mostly I had the opportunity to see him deal with Bhakti Chandra Swami, because they were very close. They were in the same yatra, GVC together. The way they dealt with each other and supported each other. And even my Guru Maharaj, when he's dealing with his god brothers, the way he supports his god brothers. Not like putting down the other one. So this is very important. So it turned out that this little boy was, okay, let's say externally on the same level, right? In terms of ability to literary performance, competition. So now with this Vijay, he understood. So the poetic champion was certainly most fortunate. His life was successful by dint of his vast learning in erudite scholarship. And thus he attained the shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So how did he attain? Because he went. Can you imagine this Vijay? He just went and surrendered. Pratayasi Prabhu Pare Laila Sharanam. He's a little boy, right? And this is a big Vijay. What did he do? Prabhu Kripa Kaile Tandra Khandiya Bandhana. He said that the Lord bestowed his mercy upon him and cut off all his bondage to material attachment. What is that material attachment that he had?
His name and fame. That he's the big.
Yeah. So when he surrendered to Nimai, then. So Shri Narottam Das Thakur has said that the best qualification for taking shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya is to be the most fallen, because the Lord came specifically to deliver the fallen soul. Which song is this?
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दया करो मोरे.
Then this line.
चैतन्य प्रभु
This
दया
line.
करो मोर मोसम पतित प्रभु ना पाए प्यार.
Most samopatita
पतित प्रभु ना पाए प्यार. ना पाए प्यार.
That I'm the most fallen. So in this age, there are very few scholars. Okay? Here, Prabhupada just putting it up. In this age, there are very few scholars. Why? They say in this Kali Yuga, there are very few scholars. Why? Prabhupada is explaining.
Because most people are not following the four regulated.
Hear you. Amrita Radhe, your voice is very low.
Because most people in this Kali Yuga are not following the four regulative principles. They are eating meat, they're drunkards, woman hunters, and gamblers, and hence they cannot be considered learned scholars.
Yes, so such persons are never considered learned scholars, even if they pose as such. So they say they are scholars, but actually they have all bad habits. So they are not scholars. Hmm? Because these so-called scholars superficially see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is associated with the fallen soul, they think that he's meant for a lower class of men, but that they do not need him. You understand what Prabhupada is saying here? So when the scholars, the British scholars specifically, maybe others also, so when they say that Mahaprabhu is among the masses, right? He's among the masses. He's not sitting, on a big throne and gathering only those who are very learned. I remember one friend, she told me, she was in some organization and then somehow she got Prabhupada's books and she shifted to Prabhupada's movement. So they protested. They said, just see there in ISKCON, anybody can come. Anybody, and they have no good manners, they have no good this, no good this, no good this, Whereas with us, it's just like a certain elite class. We come here and we discuss Vedanta or what, and just see. So here Prabhupada is speaking about that. Because these so-called scholars superficially see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu associate with the fallen souls. They think that he's meant for a lower class of men, but that they do not need him. Thus, such scholars do not take to the Krishna consciousness movement. So they look, that's not for us. These are for the general masses. So Prabhupada, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement is for the general masses. It's not for those who are like elites, who are very learned and scholars. So therefore, they won't come to ISKCON. To be puffed up with false learning, therefore, is a disqualification for accepting the Krishna consciousness movement. So meaning they are not able to join and accept because, all these people, you just come in the temple here, such a crowd pushing here and there, In our society, it's only the scholars who come. To be puffed up with false learning, therefore, is a disqualification for accepting the Krishna consciousness movement. But here's a special example. For although the poetic champion was a greatly learned scholar, the Lord also favored him. Why? Because of his humble submission. Yes, Samhita Radha.
Mataji, my question is regarding this humble submission only. When I wake up and I'm chanting, that time I'm probably saying to Mahaprabhu, humbly that I'm fallen. So sometimes I'm in this mood of humble submission. But as the day goes by, I find myself maybe, getting angry for being corrected or getting annoyed and not being in this humble, submissive mood. So, how is this mood to be lived through? I mean, to say, how can it be made constant in our disposition Because sometimes
Hmm.
it is there, most of the times it's
Yeah, so we read, from Chaitanya Charitamrita said that the more we make spiritual advancement, the more we realize what is our position in this material world, what mistake we have done, that I have come here, and what a dangerous place this world is. Padam padam yet vipadam natesham. You know, that I have dared to step in this material world when actually I have stepped in alone. And to tell the truth, we are alone. When we suffer alone. You know, so the more we make spiritual advancement, the more we realize, then we will go running to Krishna. When humility automatically will come.
it will come as we progress in our realization of the knowledge that we are getting from Prabhupada. It's
It's breaking so badly.
uh, um, basically my understand from what I understood from your answer is that uh, as our realizations deepen from the knowledge that we are getting from Srila Prabhupada's books, then humility will come automatically. Is that correct?
Yes, realization of this theory, right? Is it? So instead of just reading, I must be humble, I must be humble, then trying to practice and being, then failing, then again trying. Of course, we practice, but when we become aware, actually aware of where we are, we're just reading this sixth canto of Bhagavatam, describes soul that enters this material world. He's alone. He's actually alone. And what he's meeting with. So due to this false ego, we really believe that we can conquer this material nature. You realize what is your situation, and the more we depend on Krishna, the better it is. All right, that's a few minutes more.
Mataji,
You,
can I ask? Mataji.
yes, yeah.
Mataji, on this, I got a question today. So this was that when someone gets purified, he goes back to Golok Vrindavan, goes back to Godhead. And we all were earlier in Golok Vrindavan only, and we fell. So when one goes back to Godhead, is there a possibility of falling again?
Well, Krishna says when we go back, we won't come back again because you'll remember, right? What we did. Krishna will keep that little memory in the mind. All right, Indira Radha, you want to read? 109.
Yeah, very good. सब लीला वर्णीय चिन्ह वृंदावन दास ये किछु विशेष यहाँ करीला प्रकार. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has described all these incidents elaborately. I have only presented the specific incidents he has not described. Chaitanya Gosa Nira Leela Amritera Dara Sarvendriya Chitta Hai Shravane Vyahara. The nectarian drops of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes can satisfy the senses of everyone who hears them. Shri Rupa Raghunath Pade Yara Asha Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahe Krishnadas. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring the mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following the footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Adi Lila, 16th chapter, describing the pastimes of the Lord in his childhood and youth. Hari Bol.
Okay.
Want to stop here?
Yeah, I think we should stop here. So we'll
I
start
think
a
we
new
should.
chapter. So we'll start a new chapter.
Mhm.
Because it gets very intense, right? Each and every incident. Yes, Amrita Radha.
Mataji, one more question about the shloka which mentioned that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentions there that Saraswati Devi did not give intelligence to Keshav Kashmiri for arguing back and hence winning the argument. So basically, what I'm thinking is that the thoughts that we get in our mind, the non-Krishna conscious thoughts that we may have sometimes, even though we are practicing bhakti sadhakas, can be induced by the devas or devis, as you also mentioned. So, how to avoid getting non-Krishna conscious thoughts in our mind? Is that by practicing humility, as we discussed, or is there something?
This is not, it's not any Krishna conscious thoughts happen here, right? It's not like not that sinful thoughts that come in our mind. Sinful thoughts come from our association with sin, right? Here what happened was he forgot his knowledge. Anyway, one of the lectures. Oh, yeah, because we're in Krishna Lila now. Oh yeah, that was yesterday's class, the Sudama, right? Story of Sudama. So Krishna and Sudama, they went to the forest to collect firewood and they got stuck in the forest. So the teacher blessed them because what happened was when the teacher found Krishna and Sudama in the forest, the two boys still had the firewood that they went looking for. So even though they were in such a dangerous position, they didn't give up their service to their guru. All right. It's not that, oh, it's raining, so they just drop everything and run. And it was not at all like that. The two boys, they held on to their service. These are little bit, all the time you hear the story, there's always some addition to what you heard. So these two boys, they held on to the service that was given to them by the guru. They were in such a difficult situation, dangerous situation, maybe they'll even die, So then the guru was so pleased with them that he blessed them. He blessed them. And he said that whatever you have learned will remain with you. So I think that was Mukul Mahaprabhu who was making this point. It was his class. So he said that you may go to school, you may learn so many things, but you forget. You forget. So therefore, for you to be able to utilize the knowledge that's been given to you, you require the blessing of your guru. So here, Keshav Kashmiri, because he was being too proud, he was moving here and there, defeating this one, that one, and he walked into Navadvip and he thought, okay, here I'm the Digvijay, I'm going to also go there and defeat the scholars there. So what did the Pandit there do? They diverted him to little boy Nimai. Right? So this Saraswati, Mother Saraswati wanted him to become, because see, he's qualified. He's a qualified person. The whole point here is that he's a qualified person. Meaning the devotees also, we may be qualified, we may be proper devotees, but sometimes, some little pride comes here and there, then some arrangement is made. So it is the Supreme Lord himself is making some arrangement. So Saraswati said, okay, let us pull down his little pride. And, to meet Nimai, not everybody can meet Nimai, right? So he was so fortunate. He was so fortunate he met Nimai. So yes, sometimes pride comes, this or some offense may be there, in our speaking, some whatever, some horrible things which needs to be corrected. Then yes, it's like others become the medium, right? They become the medium through which we are corrected. See, like Mother Saraswati, she plays a huge role in many places, like with Kumkaran, right? Kumkaran, he twisted the tongue of Kumkaran. And he's supposed to, I don't know what, but he got a benediction to sleep for 6 months, right? We say Kai also, right? Kai, right? Saraswati came in her mind and distorted her thoughts, right? For some purpose, right? So it's not that when we have un-Krishna conscious thoughts that it is inspired by some deva. Sometimes when you can't understand and see, the result of it is not sinful activity. It is not more aparad. It is simply a correction so that, we are aware. Do not cross the line when you're dealing with others. When we may commit some Vaishnava aparad because you don't know how you can get corrected. It's very heavy, this section, very heavy. But this is an instant where the Supreme Lord himself, through his personal associates, is correcting a devotee. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I think Dhruva Maharaj, is it Dhruva Maharaj? When he met Vishnu, then he complained. He said that the devas, they had distorted my intelligence. They made me ask for temporary boon. And it is said also that we are tested as we progress on the path to Krishna consciousness. Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim, right? They get thrown at us. Isn't it? So who's giving all this? These are side benefits. We call this Taranga Rangini. Small waves that's thrown at us. So these are all warnings that when we are progressing on the path of Krishna consciousness, and it's not like a material life when you get a position, you put your foot on this ladder, this rung, and then you go to the next one, and then you establish yourself. If you deal like this in spiritual life, then this is what will happen. Right? So humility is very important, and not offending devotees is very important, because what trick who will play up on us, we don't know, and we won't like it. But we'll start thinking, which deva has done this to me?
And
So Mataji, as a
go ahead, Mataji, please.
So Mataji, I was asking, like, so in a difficult situation, when we remember the knowledge, then that means Krishna or our Guru Maharaj is helping us.
Yes.
Just worth of it.
Yes. If we forget, like, I mean, that was such a lesson, such a lesson. Like Karna, he forgot, right? He forgot what he learned from his guru. He was cursed, isn't it?
Because
Karna was
sometimes it so happens that there is a situation you want to say something and yet you stop, and stopping or staying quiet sometimes keeps the situation better. So that this is all the intelligence being provided by Guru and Krishna.
Yes, and here, we are studying this Chaitanya Charitamrita to know how to behave. This is our daily life. Isn't it? So far, we have learned immense lessons. I think we should start reading all over again, no? Or you're not feeling like this? Take a microscope and you're going to read each and every word, right? This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saving us. Yes, Amrita Radhe.
So, Mataji, if the standards, if there are some sinful thoughts coming in, that is because of my sinful association. And we must avoid or rather stay away from sinful association at any cost. That is point number one that I learned. Second one I learned is that if you want the devas, your spiritual master, Krishna to help you in progressing in spiritual life, then what I understand is that we have to stay humble, knowing that we cannot progress on our own. And also we have to desire strongly to want to progress. Then we will get the necessary intelligence, and as we just discussed with Anupama Mataji also, that we will get the right consciousness at the right time, and hence we'll be able to please Radha Shyam more and more in our daily life. Is that correct understanding?
Yes, and our sinful desires, a sinful action come from many lifetimes of doing it. It's not just that the immediate sinful association that causes, they only arouse it. The sinful desires are already in us because we have repeatedly done the same thing. So when we are in sinful association, those desires get aroused. So that's why we said asat sanga tyaga, right? Anyway, Krishna's here to protect us. We can see here. Nimai, he's protecting this Digvijay, right? And he became one of the branches of Nilambar.
Nimbarkacharya
Nimbarkacharya.
Sampradaya, 29.
Yeah, Nimbarkacharya. See, I'm getting all name mixed up. My memory card is getting full, I think.
Mataji, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, Mataji, this Saraswati, goddess of learning. So, in the Srimad Bhagavatam prayers, Narayan Namaskritya. So, in that, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. So, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. So, is there a different Devim means spiritual, no? So, is there a different goddess of learning for material knowledge and a different goddess Saraswati for spiritual knowledge?
The original Saraswati,
Huh?
right? That is the original Saraswati, who is the consort of the Supreme Lord, right? The energy, right? The knowledge, Shakti, right? The Jnana Shakti of the Supreme Lord. She's referred to as Saraswati, she's the original. And then also come Saraswati, who is the wife of Lord Brahma.
Okay.
So in the material world, everybody, they worship Saraswati, but they don't worship the original Saraswati, right?
Okay.
Like Lakshmi Devi, they worship Lakshmi Devi in an ordinary way. They worship her separate from Nara, right?
Hmm.
All right.
All right. Our
Happy
hours,
Janmashtami, everybody.
Hare Krishna. We are already in Janmashtami here.
Yeah. Happy Janmashtami. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sakal Patel Devastu. Sindhu Bhaya. Patitanam Krishna.
Jai Shri.
We'll see you next week. Hari Bol.
Yes.